Hello again, everybody. This is Robert Brighton, and welcome back to another edition of All That Glitters. And several of you have asked via email why in the newsletter and the headings for the videos and stuff we have these like cartoon or animated robots as our little mascot. What do robots have to do with the Gilded Age? People ask. Well, good question. I'll give you an answer. Therefore, today. And before I do, let me step back and introduce you to my friends. Without further ado, meet Lavender Machine Man. Yes, that's his name. Lavender Machine Man was made by Masudaya Company in Japan in about 1961 or 1962. He's a very large robot, and he's made all of tin. You put batteries in him, he spins around, his eyes light up, and he does all sorts of menacing things. And then here's another one of my little friends named Robot. I love that. Another Japanese tin toy here, and this one has a separate robot control, which if I were an 8-year-old again, other than in my mind, if I were an 8-year-old again, I can't imagine how much fun I would have controlling this thing remotely. That's just crazy. Anyhow, so why are they on the newsletter and all that sort of stuff? Well, mostly because I like them. I love robots, but there's also something funny about them that goes back to the Gilded Age, and that is robots are actually not a super new invention. We think of robots as hyper modern maybe, but you can think back to the old science fiction shows even in the 1950s. And there were a lot of robots in those, and it goes back even before that, even to Jules Verne, who wrote 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or whatever. There were robotic things in those days, in those science fiction books. People envisioned these things, these humanoid creatures that would either help or harm humanity, just depending. And so they, those things were contemplated. They've been around a long time. And the other thing is the Gilded Age people were fascinated by vending machines. We'll talk about this another time, but they were fascinated by vending machines, and they had these fortune-telling machines with automata, meaning mechanical human forms, humanoid forms, that would tell your fortune or speak to you or whatever, and it was a great marvel. I mean, it's as marvelous, I suppose, as we think of some new technology today or AI. We marvel at what can you do with AI? Look at those cats with the violins on the front porch. Amazing. Well, that's the way Gilded Age people thought. When they saw one of these automata, telling their fortune or turning its head or whatever, it was a huge deal. What's funny about that to me, though, is the mental image of what a robot is. Until very recently, and you see these truly humanoid robots like Optimus or some of the other modern ones that are under development by some companies today, they look kind of like people, but until fairly recently, because they have to do people things, but until very recently, this is what people thought of when they thought of robots. They were kind of mechanical and sort of stiff. And the other thing that they've never been able to make up their mind about is whether they're really helpful or harmful to humanity. You probably think of movies and stuff where robots take over the world and try to slaughter all the human beings, and a few human beings fight back. The whole thing, War of the Worlds type thing. That's one way of looking at robots, that they're going to take over the world, and we kind of put that on AI now. I'm not sure we think about it in terms of robots. We think, well, what's AI going to do? I mean, is any of us going to think in 30 years? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But robots, were thought, as potentially sinister creatures, or could go, or get out of control or whatever. And then you have other ones that are very helpful and, serve as like, cleaning, people, and, they do things around the house or whatever for you so you don't have to. A labor-saving device. And those were also big in the Gilded Age. You got to remember, washing machines had really just sort of come in, refrigerators, central heating. These things were all labor-saving devices. Lawnmowers, imagine that. I mean, before lawnmowers, think about it. How did you cut your lawn? Well, you either didn't, or somebody brought a flock of sheep there to cut it down for you, or you used a scythe. So there wasn't a whole lot of good options. So anyway, robots have always been fascinating to me. I guess this curious notion about whether they're helpful or harmful is metaphorically interesting to me. Well, mostly I just think they're goofy looking and fun. I mean, look at this guy. Look at this guy's face. Like he's supposed to be scary and menacing, but he's lavender, and there's so you want to create a menacing robot. It's funny you choose lavender because there aren't a lot of like militaries in the world that have lavender uniforms. It's just not a combative color. But anyway, he's lavender. I love him, and I love my friend Robot too. They just sit and watch me as I write, and they don't say anything. They don't do anything. But, well, they do something. They make me happy. And I find that when I'm happy, I'm more creative. And when I'm more creative, I'm a better writer. So, we always want to bring it back to first principles. Be happy, be creative, and all kinds of things open up in your life. That's what I've found anyway. Thanks for joining, and we'll be back very soon.